the Chowgarh tigers. The Man-Eaters of Kemlu, Jim Corbett's most famous book, has vivid details of the Chowgarh tigers' hunt. The tigers of Chowgarh were a pair of man-eating Bengal tigers, consisting of an old tigress and her subadult cub, that preyed on humans over a 5-year period in eastern Kemlu over a region of 1,500 square miles, killing an estimated 64 people. At first, the tigress attacked people on her own, but later she had help from her little cub. The numbers, however, are questionable because they do not account for victims who survived direct attacks but later died, as well as the fact that the locals of the regions where the tigers were active claimed twice as many deaths. Jim Corbett killed both of the tigers. As Corbett was keen to point out, tigers only turn into man-eaters when they are weakened from age or injury and unable to dispatch their normal prey. The Chowgarh tiger, who was now elderly, had relied on her young to swiftly destroy her human prey. Without it, she killed as many people as she injured. On December 15, 1925, a group of men from the village of Dalkania climbed a hill to the hut of Abu Tia to voice their displeasure at his alleged invasion of their crop fields with his goats. The sheepdog of the owner was discovered dead, and the next day, his remains were discovered 90 meters, 100 yards, from the hut. In February 1929, Jim Corbett was requested to go to Nainital and find the tigers. Corbett decided to hunt the Chowgarh tigers due to their greater body count because there had been 3 man-eaters recorded in the Kemla division at the time. The settlements on the northeastern face of the Kala Agar Ridge were where the tigers were most frequently spotted. After a 4-day march, Corbett arrived at the Kala Agar Forest Bungalow in April of that year. A 22-year-old cow grazer had been the most recent victim in the region. Corbett was given 3 additional buffaloes to use as bait in addition to his 4 by the victim's grandmother. The following day, Corbett traveled to the village of Dalkania, located 16 kilometers, 10 miles away, after learning more about the tigers' whereabouts. When he arrived, he was informed that the tigers had attempted to attack a group of ladies growing corn 16 kilometers, 10 miles, north of Dalkania, but had been repulsed. The hamlet was in a panic when Corbett arrived the following day after leaving at 3 o'clock. The villagers had heard the tigers crying in the valley, so Corbett set off for it at noon. A cattle grazer told Corbett the next day that the tigers had taken a cow that night by the time he arrived at the top end of the valley in the evening without having seen anything. The hunter discovered the tigers devouring the dead cow after following them to a ravine. Corbett shot at the animal with the lighter color, thinking it was the adult. The other tiger fled after hearing the shooting, and Corbett later discovered that the deceased tiger was actually the cub. After the cub was killed, the tigress's attacks on people were less successful since she occasionally struggled to finish off prey on her own. First hunt for the tigress. The next day, Corbett made the decision to employ the 4 buffalo baits. There were no reports of attacks for 10 days, and the buffaloes remained unharmed. On the 11th day, a woman was attacked 800 meters away from the settlement on the opposite side. Corbett hung a bait goat to a nearby tree after tending to her wounds, but it was not taken. 3 days later, Corbett learned about the death of a woman in Loali, a community 8 kilometers, 5 miles, south of Dalkania. When Corbett arrived, a village elder pleaded with him to save his daughter who had escaped the tiger with severe wounds. Even though Corbett applied permanganate to her wounds, she passed away the same night. Corbett departed Dalkania after a week, but he made a pledge to come back if he learned of another attack. Corbett observed recent pug prints while traveling and cautioned a nearby buffalo herder to be cautious. The tigress attacked the herder right after Corbett left, but the buffaloes managed to scare it away. The herder informed his village of the tigress' existence before he passed away. Second hunt for the tigress. Corbett went back to Dalkania in February of the next year, when there had been a lot of deaths while he had left. Corbett shot 2 tigers that took the buffalo as bait after tying the animal to a tree close to the settlement. He examined the carcasses and discovered that neither belonged to the man-eater. Corbett left Dalkania after a few weeks to go to a meeting in the Terai with the district administration. Third hunt for the tigress. On March 22, 1930, Corbett's district commissioner urgently requested that he travel to Chowgarh, which was located 80 kilometers, 50 miles away from Nainital. When Corbett arrived, he was informed that a woman had just been slain nearby by the Tigress. Corbett strategically tethered his 4 Dalmatian buffaloes, one of which was murdered 4 nights later. The offenders were discovered to be 2 leopards, which were shot right away to stop them from killing more bait. Final encounter. 19 days after his arrival in Chowgarh, on April 11, 1930, Corbett and 2 other men tied the buffalo baits close to the scene of a young man's earlier murder. Corbett's friends raced to him while he was setting up in a ravine, claiming they had heard the Tigress approaching. Shortly later, Corbett came face to face with the Tigress. It was positioned close to a huge boulder. The attack stopped when Corbett shot the animal fatally from a distance of 8 feet, 5 meters. 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers, west of the highland village of Chowgarh, the Tigress was shot. The Tigress's front teeth were entirely worn down, and an examination of her body revealed that her claws and 1 canine tooth were damaged. Corbett came to the conclusion that because of these limitations, the tiger had to turn to humans in order to kill prey.